Hey, what is up people? Welcome to another smartphone inspector video. This time with an unboxing and review of the Sony Xperia Z3 Plus. The Xperia Z3 Plus comes in a simple white box. This is the black model. It's very thin and it feels pretty light. There's an Xperia transfer cable to transfer contents from your old Xperia to the new one, but sadly no earphones in my box and no fast charger, even though the phone does support it. The phone comes with larger internal storage of 32GB, which is expandable with a microSD card. It has an upgraded front camera with a sensor of 5.1 megapixel and a smaller battery of 2930 mAh. The Z3 Plus remains waterproof to a depth of 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. Like its predecessors, the Z3 Plus has the typical omni-balance design of Sony, with some subtle differences compared to the Xperia Z3. The smartphone now is 6.9mm thin, and it's amazing that the camera module with the single LED flash does not protrude out of the housing, as is the case with the iPhone 6 and Samsung Galaxy S6. The metal frame has a slightly less matte finish now. The back panel is still made of glass. While this looks nice, it also makes the phone fragile and prone to fingerprints. Lots of users reported spontaneously cracked glass on the front and back, so keep that in mind if you consider buying this phone. At the front, the most obvious change is the placement of the stereo speakers. These are now, as with the Xperia Z2, placed at the very top and bottom edges of the screen. This does have an influence on the sound quality, but not in a positive way. The Z3 has a deeper and clearer sound. There are no serious competitions for the boom sound speakers of HTC though, but then again, the boom sound speakers are not waterproof. Sony has placed all of the buttons on the right side of the frame. The round power button, volume buttons and the physical camera button. The biggest change here is the absence of the magnetic charging pins, so the right side now looks a lot less crowded. On the left side we see the only flap of the device, which is 32mm long, and it houses the nano SIM and microSD slot. The headphone jack and the noise cancellation microphone are placed at the top. The micro USB port has lost its flap and is now waterproof, which makes charging the phone a lot more convenient. In addition, we find here a hole for the attachment of a lanyard, something that many manufacturers omit nowadays. In the software department, little has changed compared to the Z3. Features that were introduced on that device, such as high-res audio, are also present here. The device comes with Android Lollipop, which makes for a very fluid and fast experience. Sony not only delivers the usual suite of Sony apps, but also a remarkable number of third-party apps, some of which I consider to be bloatware. Fortunately, many of those are removable. The skin on top looks the same, and although it still looks good, I had hoped for a slight facelift, or at least some functional changes. The notification center is almost equal to the stock Android version, which isn't necessarily a good thing. If you, for example, want to toggle auto brightness, you'll need to dive into the settings. The phone is powered by the Snapdragon 810 chip, which is also used in the HTC One M9. The chip is known to generate lots of heat, but to be honest, I didn't notice it to be uncomfortable in use. Battery life is still good, but not as good as on the Z3. Compared to that phone, you'll get 1 hour less of on-screen time. The Z3 Plus comes with the well-known 20.7 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture and a single LED flash. The physical camera button is very useful and essential for underwater use. By default, the camera shoots pictures in superior auto mode, where the images are compressed using super sampling to 8 megapixels. This makes the pictures look nice and sharp with lots of contrast and vibrant colors. Also, noise levels are kept pleasantly low. In theory, superior auto mode can differentiate between 52 different scene types and adjust the settings accordingly. In practice, I found it to work really well. Optical image stabilization is unfortunately still absent, and it shows, especially when filming. The camera app starts up reasonably fast, but it's not as fast to use as some of its competitors. The front camera has a 5.1 megapixel sensor and is a marked improvement compared to the Z3. The screen is almost identical to its predecessor. It's still a 5.2-inch triluminous Full HD display. It is not possible to change the color saturation of the screen, so that the screen shows a realistic saturation. The default is too high, and the X-Reality and Super Vivid screen modes only push it up further. It does offer good contrast and viewing angles for an LCD screen, thanks to Sony's Bravia technology. Nevertheless, it's nowhere near as good as the Super AMOLED screen of the Galaxy S6, with its almost perfect black levels and viewing angles. Another improvement which a lot of people forget to mention is that the screen responds much better to input now when it is wet, so it's very convenient to use in the shower. The screen is nice and bright, but what I also notice is that the software lowers the brightness of the screen when the phone becomes hot. The screen is then hardly visible outside, even with the auto brightness mode switched off. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up below, and if you don't want to miss my upcoming videos, then make sure to subscribe and follow me on social media. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.